There is such a easy transition between the first film and this film. What was the blueprint for you to build the world even further and create this new 2049?
The blueprint?
Yeah.
Very simple, one word that came from Hampton Fancher. At the beginning, when I read the script, I said, okay, what do I do? The first movie was an extension of the 70s. And they created that future that at the time was like prophetic. I mean, it was like a vision, a very strong vision of what could be our future. Now, it was set in 2019 in Los Angeles. Now we are almost in 2019, and some things were prophetic, where like this Ridley Scott saw things that were about to happen, and other things didn't happen. So it became, we are in an alternate universe. So I had to decide that if I will build a world that will be inspired by today, or a world that will be inspired by the first Blade Runner. And it's Hampton Fancher that said to me, you think too much. It's like the first movie was a dream. We just dreamed a lot. You had just do the same, just you're free, and it really removed the pressure out of my shoulders. So I came with the proposition to follow up and the first movie by creating an extension in the future of the first movie, which means that there would be no Steve Jobs in 2049. There would be no internet. There would be no Celine Dion. It will be a world that will be different than what will be our future, and that it will bring a comment on today. You know.
Well, it also feels like you took elements of the real world and the cars we drive, the idea of creating a hologram of a rock star on it, those kinds of ideas. I feel like we're moving closer to where.
Yeah, I tried to find an equilibrium between bringing back the aesthetic laws of the first movie, and at the same time incorporate ideas that are relevant today, of things that are relevant today, and that was a tricky balance that we tried to find.
How often did you speak with Ridley about this, or did you speak with him at all?
I had a long conversation right from the start with him because I needed to meet him first and have his blessing. I will not do it if I don't have Ridley Scott's blessing. And we had a nice conversation about the first movie, when he gave me clues about the foundations, about the source of inspiration, everything about the genesis of the first movie. And that after that he said that the second one is yours. It's like he gave me total freedom, and that was like the best gift. I'm very grateful for his generosity and trust. It was the only way for being able to do it. It was just to do it alone.
It's a little difficult to talk about the movie because there's so much there that and we want fans to really experience it. Was there something that you really wanted to connect to the first film and maybe take it further into another film?
For now, I just finished the movie less than a month ago. Mm-hmm. It has been the biggest artistic challenge of my life, and I didn't have the time to digest it yet. I'm just still physically recovering from so I have no distance. I need to sleep for a few weeks and then think about that. But and I think I don't know if I will be involved, but it's definitely a word that I found was very inspiring. Yeah.
It also seems like it was very finding that right person, finding the right cast, which you did marvelously. I think Ryan is a perfect fit in this world. Was that he always the lead for you? Was he always the guy?
I think that Hampton Fancher, when he wrote the very first words about it, this character thought about Ryan, and he suggested the idea of Ryan Gosling to Ridley, who thought it was a fantastic idea, and then they came to me and they said, listen, here's the screenplay. We think Ryan could be a good idea, as a suggestion. It was just an idea. And as I was reading the screenplay, I thought it was a fantastic. That was you feel it when it's written for someone, and he's the only actor we approach. I mean, I said, yeah, let's go for Ryan right away. I felt it was perfect for the part, and yeah, that's what I would say.
First of all, I love this movie, and we really can't talk a lot about anything. But I want to talk about your guys' relationship with Denny and taking on the women characters in this world.
I mean, what it was like to work with him was incredible. He's not like any director I've worked with before. He's so he's brilliant, but he's so humble and so detail oriented and includes you in the process of creation and makes you feel like as much a part of the central thing as anybody else. And I just found him like such a gracious, exciting director that you could really kind of, I don't know, he put so much faith in his actors and really took care of us, and then has this like brilliant visual and storytelling mind on top of that doesn't kind of cripple his empathy at all.
What about with you guys?
I think it's also vice versa. He also trusts, that we all, the actors and crew, trust him, but he also trusts the artist he's surrounded by, and he lets everyone do their job. And we all are on the same page, but then he lets people to create, he's aware that everyone does the best in their department, you know what I mean? He listens, he's very collaborative, and he's very detailed. Like, I remember, some directors are just watching the monitor and paying attention if you're on focus or not, or something else, and then they say, cut, you look at him, how was that? And he has no clue what you just did. And he was just paying attention to everything, even your body language, every note was something like very unexpected, like you weren't.
And gave you stuff to play with for the next take instead of just be like, go to the left and be more like dreamy.
And he's very clear. He doesn't really use a lot of words for it too. Like I think his communication with the cast and crew is very respectful, but when he doesn't, like he'll let you be free, and then when he doesn't like something, he's like, oh, no, my friend. And then he'll say, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh, okay, got that. And then you do it, and he's like, oh, I deeply love it.
Yeah.
So he's very like, it's not, you will never take it personal in any sense if he says something. It's really all about the story and the way we tell the story.
Very grateful. Every day after we wrapped, he would come to you and say, thank you, my friend, thank you. Yeah. That was great. You're so strong. You did a beautiful job. Like, he's so... he takes everything like so nicely.
I've never heard a director do that.
No, it's so weird.
It is very
lovely. Unusual. It's just like
Wow.
to not have an ego.
Yeah, that is pretty unusual.
Because
like that.
especially visionary directors, they're usually known for their visuals and not for the actor communication.
No, that's the thing. His communication.
Well, I think
is really
if
good.
you've seen his movies before, you can tell he goes to the core, what the movie is and what the scene is and what the characters are. Like, Denis is really the example, in my opinion, like less is more. He applies that to everything, and he's just clean in thoughts, clean in performing, clean in asking, in everything. He's just straight. And that's easy. It's just, you really trust that, because it's clear what what you have to do.
Without getting into the characters specifically, it's also important for each of these characters. You all play such an important role in this world, which is kind of unusual also for the women. A lot of times in bigger sci-fi movies, they just have the throwaway roles. This is not the case. What was it? It must have been challenging and exciting for you guys to take these, especially it's a pretty exciting role.
It was. I was so grateful. This is the most fun role I've ever played, with a lot of depth, and there was a whole rich palette to choose from. I mean, she's vulnerable, strong, there's satire, humor, she's like a fashionista, she's, you can play with all these things. And, I think it's great that women are getting to that stage where in movies they are, allowed, it sounds so bad, but we are, getting the possibility to do that, to play with all those colors, and I felt very grateful.
Yeah, well, and your role, again, it's so hard to talk about it, right? But and especially your character is really hard. What did you connect to her? Because she's such an interesting, intriguing role. Was there a small connection for you personally?
Yeah, I liked she feels like really scrappy and like a survivor, and that she's sort of, I thought about her as this sort of like drowned rat who like was looking for warm places and had survived this like nuclear war, and then there's, you know, secrets to her and other layers to her, but the first thing I sort of thought about was her sort of being this like drowned rat character that was just sort of seeking warmth and some sort of like place to land.
This character is such a change for you.
Yeah.
I've never seen you. I would have never thought. It's a very well acted, very powerful character.
Thank you. Yeah.
What was the approach, and how did they approach you about this one?
Well, I originally found out, you know, through my agent. Obviously, he asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, hell yeah, I'd be interested. And they wanted me not to audition at first. They wanted me to fly out to. I was shooting Guardians 2, and they wanted me to fly out and meet with Denis, and so I did, and that didn't go all that great. Excuse me. It didn't go all that great because when I initially, it was literally like 2 minutes into our conversation, and he said, you know, I really hate to tell you this, but you're too young for the role. And I'd never heard that. I never heard you're too young for the role. It's usually, you know, the other way around. So I was a little bit crushed, but at the same time, I, you know, hadn't built up my hopes of that. I hadn't auditioned. It was really just kind of a meet and greet. So I sat down and I talked with Denis. I flew all the way out to LA, so I figured, you know, I'd love to hang out with him and get to know him and pick his brain about his films, and I really respected him as a director. So I just sat down and we BS'd for a couple hours, and I walked away with that feeling satisfied with having done that. I was upset, but I wasn't. You know, I really felt satisfied that I got to sit down with Denis and talk with him. But then as it went on, the process went on. You know, it's weird because the way I did my screen test, and they asked me if I'd do a makeup test, and of course I agreed because I wanted the part, and then a screen test, and I did that, and I finally won over the part. But the way I had it in my head wasn't at all the way Denis had the character in his head. They were two completely different things. But the cool thing is that's how I got to know him as a director, and I really loved being directed by him because he was so detailed in his description of the way he wanted things and performances, and the reason why he wanted me to walk certain ways and put my glasses on certain ways. The best way I can describe it is he wanted me to walk heavy-footed, and I couldn't understand why because I felt oafish when I was doing it. And he said, it's not that. He said, this character, he's been beaten up. You know, he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's just tired. And that was the way he described it, and that's the way I did it, and it just worked.
Yeah, there's a real world weariness to this guy.
That's what he just wanted him to look like. He's just beaten down. He's just weary and just tired. Yeah.
To have a director that's so, he creates these beautiful, brilliant images,
right.
But it sounds like he's such a pleasure to work with as an actor as well. That's got to be rare.
He's an actor's dream. He's an actor's dream, and I think it is because he is just very descriptive, but in a very positive way. Like I did a couple things that he just didn't agree with at all, but he didn't make me feel silly about my choices. He said, you know, this, I would like you to do it this way, but this is why I would like you to do it this way. And he would be very descriptive about that, and it just put you in a certain mindset and made you feel easy. But also when he described it a certain way, it just made sense. Yeah. So he's the kind of director that you want to perform for. You want to give him what he wants. Yeah, he's just brilliant. He's very, very, just a pleasant person. You know, he's very interesting and pleasant and fun to be around, so he makes it, he really makes it satisfying when you're giving him the performance that he wants.
First of all, this year has been extraordinary for you. You've become this action hero of sorts, and it's. Did you plan this? Well, how did this happen?
That is a beautiful fate.
It really is.
Yeah, it was not planned at all.
Because obviously with this and Wonder Woman, you've become this kind of tough as nails, incredible presence on screen. Did you have to fight for this? Did these auditions just come to you?
The calls came, and
there was no hesitation. You know, would you be interested in playing some, because this is out of the norm?
Sure.
I was like, yes, come on, let's do it. It's nice to play fierce leaders with a cause,
Yeah.
with you know, a good cause.
Yeah. Well, it's also nice. I feel like this movie in particular, without, it's like we can't talk about anything within the movie because it's so just spoilery, but the women characters are so fascinating, each and every one of them, on every different level.
All different levels, striking
Yeah.
differences as well.
That must have been like, oh yeah. When were you allowed to read the whole script when you? Okay. What was your reaction to the women?
Same, just how much variety there was in different kinds of power.
Yeah.
Right, because we've got the evil power and the good power, and the kind of ambiguous power in this movie. And how they feed off each other, and how they win.
Yeah. It's so beautiful to watch. And it's also a very pretty film.
It's a gorgeous
Oh
film.
my God.
Stunning.
It's just it's every scene.
The art direction, the, you know, art design.
Did you
beautiful.
know? I mean, when you're shooting this, do you realize how beautiful this is going to look? I mean,
I think you couldn't go wrong with Denis as the director, visionary, and Roger Deakins as the DP.
yeah.
And Ryan Gosling on the screen. Like,
And you.
I think that's a shoe-in, guys. I think we're good.
No, but it's funny too because I think this character represents something so. I think we're seeing more of her in film nowadays. I think people are trying to present women with these stronger, more interesting characters. And I think, do you feel that there's a change in this, in the way people see women, and the way, are we going in the right direction?
It has shifted lanes. Yeah, we just need to keep our foot on the accelerator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've all been, I've talked with the other cast members about working with Denis and about how unusual it is to work with a visionary director who's also a very good actor's director. Mm-hmm. That's not a usual thing. What was your feel with him? I mean, it seems like he's just so patient and so interesting when he deals with the actors and the notes he gives. What was that experience like?
He knows how to verbally describe and unveil the story point with pictures, with little vignettes, and it's the way he describes it in his French-Canadian English that is different. It just is. When you think of translation of certain words, you're like, why did he pick that word? But that was the most perfect descriptive word to help me in this scene. Wow. And it wouldn't be something you and I would use.
Wow.